Side One Dummy live. There you go. Welcome everybody. Brian Fallon will be joining us shortly. How are you on this Saturday? My name is Joe Sib. For a lot of you, you're probably wondering who Joe Sib is. And I'm co-owner of Side One Dummy Records, along with my partner, Bill Armstrong. I want to thank you all for taking the time to check us out today. I'm super excited to have Brian Fallon on here. We're going to talk about his new record that he's just released on his label. That's right. He has a new record out called Local Honey. And I know a lot of you are huge fans of Brian Fallon, as I am. And here we go. Brian's going to be joining us any minute. Any minute, Brian will be joining us. I want to thank you all, too, for supporting Side One Dummy over the last 25 years. That really means a lot to Bill and I and to everyone at Side One Dummy. It's been an amazing 25 years, and to have you support us for as long as you have, it means a lot. Today, like I said, we're going to be talking to Brian basically about his solo career. I'm sure we'll dive into some Gaslight anthem. Everyone, there we go. There he is right there. Boom. There we go. Here we go. Add. I did this right. All right, waiting for Brian Fallon. He should be coming any second. Here we come. Brian!
Hey!
How are you, buddy?
How you
Everything
doing?
good?
Yeah, good.
Hey, man, thank you so much for doing this.
Of course. Yeah.
This has been something that we've talked about doing forever, and now we are.
You have a much radder background.
Check that out. Okay.
Dude.
Ramones, Bowie, who else? A Didi photo, Arturo Vega, and then Strummer right there.
I have a blank wall because I moved in here last summer.
Okay.
But when I moved in, it was straight writing, kids, school started in September, recording, fake touring, and then now I'm looking at a blank wall and I'm going, man, I got to dial this in. Like, I don't know.
You know, it's funny though. It's funny because as we all have been doing these live streams, and I love talking on the phone, but doing this, it's a whole new ball game.
Yeah, it's awesome. I don't think anyone's gonna leave the house anymore.
I don't know, dude. The thing I loved about doing this today, Brian. First, I got up, I showered, I worked out, I combed the hair. Like, I was excited.
Keep it tight. Keep it tight.
You got to keep it tight. Oh my gosh. Thank you so much for doing this, Brian. I really appreciate it.
Of course. Hey, you know what? I'll tell you, speaking of keeping it tight, this is probably the last online performance anyone's going to see of me appearing with before my homegrown haircut that I've been doing. I've been cutting my own hair for 2.5 years.
Yeah. Dude,
old school.
It is old school. The first thing I was going to say was, I got to say, I've been enjoying the singer. What do you call it? The
Sitting around at home.
What's the title of the round table or the song?
Sitting around at home.
I love it.
It's actually, so like in Nashville, they always call it like a songwriter's round, because you go in a round, like in a circle. But the song is, it's a Buzzcocks song.
There you go.
Yeah, that Gorilla Biscuits covered.
Yes. When you said that right there, I was like, that is a Buzzcocks song.
Yeah.
The thing that I've enjoyed about you doing those live performances is obviously, like, you had Warriors on the other day, Love. Yes. But I've been finding out about so many different singer-songwriters and musicians that I didn't know about. And I'll be honest, the interviews you are doing with them where you're talking about the songwriting, whether it's, the music, lyrics, it's interesting. Like, it's relaxing to listen to.
Yeah, I'm trying to do that. It's something that actually, like, I kind of wanted to do for a long time because everyone interviews people for their records or whatever. And there's maybe like 50 really good interviewers. And then the rest is just like, I always find that it's kind of just the same thing off the press release for everything, so you read the same thing over and over again. And I was like, no one ever really gets deep in the songwriting. Like, what if you do when you get jammed up? Like, what do you do when you're like, dude, I got to make a record. I got studio time booked. I don't have a song.
Yeah.
So just see.
One of the best now I'm going to forget his name. You had him on at the beginning of the week, and it was before Warriors, and he came on twice. I think maybe the session got broken up, and then you guys came back with a second piece. What was his name?
John Paul White.
Okay.
Now he's in he was in that band called the Civil Wars. Do you remember them?
I remember the name, but I never saw them.
Huge band, big, yeah.
Okay. The thing that I loved about him, really quick, just as everyone's joining, ladies and gentlemen, Brian Fallon. Brian and I go way back, and we'll talk about that today. Brian and I literally saw each other a week before quarantine started. I was doing shows out in, where was it? Was that New Jersey?
Point Pleasant, New Jersey, yeah.
Yes, where you had to tell me, Joe, you're literally walking distance from the ocean. And I was like, I am?
Yeah.
Oh my God, I'm such a moron when it comes to like where I am. I just know, okay, there's the show. Okay, here's coffee. Let's go.
Yeah.
But we were hanging out together, and at that moment, neither one of us knew the extent of what this was going to turn into.
No.
So I really appreciate you taking the time to do this.
Sure.
And for everyone showing up, thank you so much. One of the things that your guest said, and it really rang true, was he said being home right now, it's the first time he's been home and not working where he feels guilt-free.
Yeah.
And that rang true.
Yeah. It's crazy.
With you, any of the musicians, me, we have been on this treadmill of got to put records out, got to go on tour, got to be here, got to be there. Oh, here's my kid. I love you. Here's my wife.
Right.
Okay, go, go, go. And whenever I'm home, I do feel guilty if I'm not working. This is the first time ever, and he nailed it when he said that, guilt-free.
It's crazy.
Are you feeling that way too?
Yeah, because you always feel like you should be doing something. Because in our line of work, we're both sort of like, we have jobs, but we're freelance. Like we don't have bosses. Like, and so it's like if you're not
Bill Armstrong's my boss.
Yeah, but even with Bill, like if you're not working, like you're thinking like, dude, what if in 6 months this is over? But that's at any point from 2006 to now. Like I still feel that way.
Yeah.
So you always are like, I gotta come up with the new thing. What's the next thing? And then like you don't really spend time with people. You sort of like checked in, but like in an airport,
Well, it's like they always say you need to be in the now, and I'm totally down for that. But when you're a musician or entertainer or anything in the business or just anything you do, you have to live in the future as well, because if you don't, then the dates don't get booked, the shows don't get booked, and before you know it, you don't have any work. So that's what's strange about this right now is literally everyone's been told, no, you everything's on hold, we'll figure it out later, which is scary, but it's also in a strange way, at least for me, when John said that, I really hope when this is done, I can learn how to be with my family and with my friends and still take on that guilt-free attitude and not feel like I gotta, oh my God, I gotta do this, I gotta do that,
Yeah, it's really going to be interesting, like how I kind of hope like that people carry that, or even not people, but that I carry that with me, like that feeling of like, well, I don't have anything to do today, so I'm just gonna be checked in.
Yeah.
It's way different.
Yeah, I always call that.
Not living it.
Yeah, I always call that dropping in. You gotta, because when you drop into a wave, when you drop in skating, you got to be committed.
Yeah.
So a couple days ago, I got to share this with you. Remember when I sent you the text and I tried to get like all Rolling Stone reviewer?
Yeah. I liked it though.
Did you?
But so in all seriousness, we've known each other a long time. That's the first time that you ever like really told me like, hey, like this meant something to me and this is why. So I was really like,
I got a little nervous because usually, when we hit each other, because you're a late guy, like you'll text me sometimes 9 o'clock my time. I'm like, it's midnight where he is. And you're like just getting into, you're a nighttime guy. So, the other night I sat down and I was like, I really want to listen to Local Honey. I put it on here, I put it on there, but you know what? I'm going to dive into it. I really want to listen to the record from, start to finish. And the first line of the first song, like I said to you, it kicked me in the nuts. And because it says, there will be, I think the line is there will be trouble, right?
Yeah.
And then the next line is,
but you shall overcome.
okay.
Yeah.
So it was like you did this. You gave me a punch to the chest, like a Tyson, like, oh, but then you came in with the hug, and
well, yeah.
I really felt at that moment that I was like, this record, these words, these songs almost needed to come out the way it is right now. Does that make sense to you?
Yeah. And what's kind of insane is that we were in the studio, like we finished the sequencing, like when the record was done and we were deciding what order the songs were going, it was like end of October, right? Maybe November 1st or something like that. And I said to Peter, who was producing, I was like, hey man, I was like, I think I got to have When You're Ready first. And he kind of like looked over his shoulder and was like, really? That doesn't sound like an opening track. Like you don't want to open with something else? And I said, nah, man, because I said the first thing I want people to hear when they put the record on is, in this life there will be trouble, but you shall overcome. And I had no idea that any of this would happen. Yeah. But it was like, I just wanted that to be the statement that hung over the whole record. So in the first 15 seconds, that's what you hear.
Well, I can tell you, being here on the West Coast at around midnight when I listened to that, I was laying there and I had the phone on my chest and I was like, all right, I'm going for the ride. And
yeah,
when that song came on, it really took me on a ride musically that's been different than what I've always experienced with you. I mean, there's no, you and I, we've talked, I always feel, you do something with your lyrics. It's almost like painting. You're very good at picking and choosing your words and really giving, I'm sure, everyone a different visual. But on this particular record, I almost felt, and it's an entire record. It's 31 minutes. I felt like I almost was in a hotel or on the road, and there's this guy staying next door, and I can hear him playing these songs, and I don't want to listen because it's none of my business, but I keep finding myself listening. And have you ever heard like a couple next door fight,
Yeah.
And like the woman will say something and you're like, she's kind of right. And then the guy will come back and like, oh dude, you're blowing it. You're blowing it. Like
countless times.
Yeah. So when I'm sitting
it's always
there,
in hotels too. You're blowing it. You shouldn't have said that, man.
Yeah. And then like an hour later, they're just going at it. And you're like, oh, great. Now I got to listen to this. Awesome. The thing that I felt with this record was I felt that it was, like I said, if you would have told me, Joe, I didn't want you to hear those songs, that's something else I'm doing, I would go, okay. Not because they're not sonically good, but they're so personal that it's almost like I said, I was listening in on something I might not supposed to hear. Yeah. And as the record goes deeper and deeper, that happens. And then right when you least expect it, it ends and it's just gone. It's like it's the next morning you go to see who that couple was staying next door, or you go outside and the car's gone. And it's that weird feeling of like, almost like when you go to your school when you're a little kid because you forgot your books and your dad goes, okay, go run in there and get what you want. When you ran on the campus and no one was there and it felt kind of sad. Yeah. You're like, oh, that's where we usually hang out. When this record ended, I had that melancholy feeling of like, oh, wow. Okay, we're done. Okay. Yeah. And that's when I sent you my review.
I loved it. It was good. It was kind of strange because I kind of have my whole songwriting time have sort of put things out there that I felt were, I was being like pretty open. And then I realized like later on, I guess maybe now, like in the writing process, I realized that like, even though I was being open, I wasn't really telling like what I was doing, like I was sort of making these broad things, like in all the records, like like take like American Slang, I remember specifically that song. Like I was trying to tell my story of like how I grew up, you know,
Mhm.
but like it wasn't that specific. And now I realize, like, I think it's just being of that age where you sort of become more comfortable in yourself, and you're like, well, I don't know, like I'm just gonna let this out there, and if that freaks you out, then that's cool. It's not for you, you
Totally
know.
get, yeah.
But it's hard to be. You can't be that comfortable when you're 29. You
No,
just can't. I don't think so. It's hard.
yeah. I also think, you know, like American Slang is a good example because, you know, let's step back for a second. And I'm glad you
Yeah,
brought that up because I always, whenever I interview someone, I never want to be the guy like, let's just talk about what you've done in the past and not talk about what's going on right now. But I do believe that we don't get to local honey without American Slang, without
sure.
59 Sound, without Horrible Crows. Um, the thing that I always tripped out on you, and this is a good thing, was you were always, in my mind, you were always writing a song. Whenever even when you were in LA at Side One Dummy, I remember at one point I had a conversation with Benny, and Benny and I actually talked about this when I was out on the road with you guys last summer, the summer before. And he said, we were talking, and he said something to the fact of, Brian's always working on a song. And I go, really? And I kind of, you know, grinded him a little bit. Like, I mean, really, is he always working on a song? And he goes, Joe, is from since I've known him as kids, he's always working on a song, and he's always got a part or a lyric or something he's working on. And when we worked together on those records, 59 Sound, American Slang, I always felt, even when you guys were recording the first record, you know, 59 Sound for side one, the first record, I remember literally up until the moment of putting down lyrics, you still always had paper out and you were kind of moving things around. And what do you think about this? What do you think about that? But at the same point, not forcing it. Does that make sense? Because I feel a lot
Yeah,
of us, you're always trying to find that last song that's going to be the
right.
one. And I didn't feel that was going on. It just felt like I have this idea. I got to get it from here to my hand to the paper, through the mic, onto the tape. And that process was always going on. What I feel like with Local Honey is, honestly, I feel like you're still doing that.
Yeah.
Just it hasn't stopped.
No, it's kind of the way, like I'm always collecting something to try and some idea or some, you know, I'm working out something because like I've always thought, like I think when I was probably before we met, I always thought that I was capable of something cool, like some kind of song or something that was like cool. I was so inspired by the people who did that, and I was just like, I think I can do that. I'm like, maybe I'm crazy, but like I feel this like buzz like in me, like this electric thing where like I feel like I can do something that connects with people, and I wasn't sure what that is, but like I don't know if I'll ever sort of achieve like the pinnacle of it, but I'm always like trying to refine and like not get better. Like I never, it's such a weird thing where it's like I don't look at it like as getting like better than the past work. I always think of it as just like the next thing, like you get like one step closer to the thing that just like plugs in the electricity and the Christmas lights go on. You know, and
Yeah.
I don't know what that means when it happens, but
Do
you
you,
know, and
when you say you have that buzzing and stuff, where do you think that's coming from? Is that coming from the universe, higher power? Where do you think that connection to your brain and your ideas of, hey, I got to put this into a melody, hey, I got to put this on paper, where do you think, where's that coming to you? Where do you think it comes from?
I think it comes from, I just think it's something that like I was born with, sort of, you know. I mean, there's like many theories of like where people get driven from, but I don't know, like I've always felt that way. Like I always was like, yeah, but like I'll get good at something, you know, like especially like with an instrument or whatever, like with guitar, and I'll be like, yeah, but how much better could I get? You know, like could I get better? I don't know. Like have I reached my peak? And like there was something that I saw in a in a ballet school one time, and it said your competition is not with everyone else around you. Your only competition is yourself. And I was like, whoa. And it like stuck, really stuck. And I was just like, yeah, okay. like all I got to do is do better than I did the last time I did it. And then like, or learn, not better, but like learn more, expand. It's almost like not a race. It's about expanding, you know,
Yeah.
sort of making like putting more ingredients that are cool in it, you know, and
Yeah.
that's
Well, that line that you said is true. You know, you're not in competition with anyone except yourself, and your biggest critic is yourself.
yeah.
How hard are you on yourself with your songwriting? I mean, as a songwriter, I know sometimes when I would write a song, I would say to myself, okay, I love this, but it's a little similar to that, or I love this bridge, but I could do better. How hard are you on yourself when you're sitting down to start writing? And I'm not saying to write an album, but just, hey, I have this idea. How hard, when does that process start of you going, you know what, I gotta change that. That could be something better.
It usually happens like the whole way through, you know. I'm
Okay.
pretty brutal on it. Like I don't, a lot of the times I don't bring in like my manager loves to say, send me the song because you're too serious with it. You got to just send it to me. He goes, you're too hard on it. And I'm always like, yeah, but you know, your quality's got to stay high. Like I feel like I did not let a lot of dogs get through the door in my career. Like there's not a lot of songs where I'd go, no, that was terrible. Like I think there's only like 2 maybe, you know. And
What
so
are
like,
they? What are they?
I can't, I
Come on.
can't because what if it's somebody's favorite song and I'm gonna totally bum them out?
Yeah, I was just gonna say.
I can tell you, none of them are on your records.
Okay, there we go. There we go. You know what's funny though is that I know your catalog probably, you know, as good as everyone that's listening, if not better. And I don't looking at the catalog, there isn't anything I've ever like fast forward over, you know.
Really?
At least for me, you know.
Yeah.
I love though that what you're saying though is that that's so important what you said, where you're saying it's not that you want the song to be better than last time or more successful. You just want to keep almost. Is this a good definition? Like making it go wider, like pushing it out. Okay.
Yeah, it's all about wide for me, and not better. Like one thing I was talking to my friend about is they were talking about like, so like it always comes up. But they were saying like, they were like, so do you think like Bruce Springsteen thinks he's ever gonna beat Born to Run? And I was like, no, I don't think he even considers that. I think that he just wants to add width to the story. Like I don't think that like, you know, like I don't think Joe Strummer was sitting around. This is the best example. I think the best example of anyone doing something like this was Joe Strummer, because when he was in the Clash, he wrote probably like, you can't compete. I don't even know, like the Ramones and the Clash. It's like, how do you compete with those great songs?
Yeah,
you know? And
it's also totally 2 different bands.
Right, but when Joe kind of like went and did like his later work, it was nothing. You never hear him talk like negatively about like London Calling or Safe European Home. He's just like, yeah, that's what I did, and now I've got this song called Johnny Appleseed, and it's got like this Cuban beat,
and it's
so rad.
It's so rad.
Right, it's so rad.
That's such a great example, because when that record came out, starts out with Coma Girl, and for me, as you know, and you and I, anybody that knows the 2 of us knows that we could just divert right now and talk about the Clash for another hour and be fine.
Yeah.
I was listening to the Clash last night. My kids must think I'm nuts. They're like, when I was like washing dishes, and for some reason on Spotify, there's this great playlist. It's called like Clash Reggae Radio, and it's just all their like that era, and I love it. Starts cool. Out with Police and Thieves, and just so great.
Nice.
Yeah. But anyway, the thing that you're so right is when you say that is that when they made that, the Mescaleros, and he came out with that record, you weren't saying to yourself, oh my God, it's not Safe in European Home. It's not, Should I Stay or Should I Go? It's not the first record, White Wyatt, and all those great songs. You just loved what he was doing right there. And he did go wider, because if you were a Clash fan, you were like, of course he has these crazy rhythms underneath.
Right.
Because now he really gets to do it, and no one's telling him to mellow out.
You're right. But it was such a thing for him too, because he was always about the like, the one thing I find like really like a kinship with this is just like I'm just a fan of all music. Like I've always been that way. Like I'll listen to top 40 pop music. I'll listen to like weird reggae that like no one listens to. You know what I mean? I was always into everything. I was like, give me all of the music. I'll have everything.
Yeah. Does that come from like the way you were raised? Like what was going on in the Fallon household? I know your mom was really into music. Like,
yeah.
So what were you growing up on?
She played like all the folk stuff. So like all the great like singer songwriters. That was my mom's thing. But like I didn't have like an older brother or anything like that. So I didn't have anybody to like show me records. And my friends weren't that hip to stuff. They were like, yeah, I don't know, like whatever, Led Zeppelin. And I was like, Led Zeppelin sucks. I was like, I don't know. You know, like at the time I just didn't get it. Like now I think it's okay, but like that's not my bag. But like I would go scour these like pictures of punk bands and like what t-shirts they were wearing and like, you know, read Rolling Stone or whatever and like find like who were they influenced by? What was the deal? And then I would go to the tape shop and just like I would just be looking down the thing and like I'll take that one and I'll take that one. You know, and you just blow your allowance. And sometimes it was bad, but I found some really cool bands that way.
You said something funny when you were interviewing Warriors. You said you trusted your mom more than your friends.
Yeah, I did.
And I was like, when I look back, you know, my friends didn't turn me on to Sinatra, Jerry Vale, what else? You know, like the Beatles. You know, that was my mom and dad.
Yeah.
My dad turned me on to Ray Charles. Not my best friends, but and I'm not.
Yeah.
But it's so funny when you're a kid growing up. You know, there's this moment where you're like, do I trust my friend that I hang out with at school, or do I trust my parents? Because it's a weird moment, you know. Because your parents could lay something bad on you, you know.
Right.
But it sounds like your mom really laid some good jams on you.
Yeah, and the thing about my mom is like she had the street cred because like my mom put out a record in the 60s where it was like full on, she was in Washington, D.C., full on protest, race riots. My mom had seen everything. My mom had burned bras, stood up for people, like the unfortunate. Like my mom had already done punk, you know, and she was dialed in. So like my mom didn't really have anything to prove. And when she's like, you'd be crazy. You know, she would always listen though. Anything I brought home, I would be like, Mom, you know, I found this record by the Dead Boys. What do you think of this? This is a song called Ain't It Fun. He says the C word in it. Can you believe it? And she'd just be like, yeah, it's cool, but it kind of reminds me of, and then she would show me something else and I'd be like, whoa, you know? So it was like a fair trade of like thing, but she had seen everything, you know, like there was no, like, I remember like with the Dead Boys specifically, she'd be like, well, how about this song? It's called Eve of Destruction. And you'd be like, what? And then I would listen to it. And it was a guy who sounded like every punk band, but from 1961, before there was punk, you know? It was cool. So, and my friends were like, hey man, did you hear like Metallica's Load? And I'd be like, nah, you know what, I didn't. Because Metallica wasn't cool anymore.
Yeah. Yeah, you can tell I always realize whenever I sit down and talk to people, especially people that I've worked with making records, how important their parents really were with kind of what they turned them on to. I remember, like I said, my dad turned me on to Ray Charles because I remember on my band, we made our first demo or whatever, and I played it to my dad, and he goes, I can't hear you singing. And I go, well, no, yeah, I'm right there. And he goes, Joe, do you know about dynamics? And I'm like, what's that? And he puts on Ray Charles. He goes, look, when Ray sings, the music's down. When Ray's done singing, the music comes up.
Yeah.
And I'm telling you, I was about 14 or 15, and that was how I learned about, you know, that's why when I listen to Social Distortion, I'm like, what's that thing he does when it sounds all chunky and he sings? That's called muting. And I'm like, whoa.
That was the one thing too. I remember this was like hardcore one day. We were at my friend's house, and he was kind of into like some punk and stuff like that, but he was like still like big. We met on like Guns N' Roses, but then like sort of split off where he got into like really heavy stuff. And I remember hearing on 120 Minutes, like Story of My Life came on, and I saw Mike, and it was like a visual and an audio thing at the same time. And I remember freezing. I was like, shut up. Just don't say anything for the next 3 minutes. And I was frozen. And I was pacing around his kitchen, like freaking out, being like, dude, I just saw Jesus, man. Like things are changing. And he was just like, that was lame. And I was like, yo, you're lame. I was like, you're lame. Everything you like is lame. I'm out. And I was just, it was over.
Oh man. When you're saying it, you know, that thing you just said, no, you're lame. Remember when you loved a band so much, it divided friendships, man?
Yes.
Like I remember I remember like not talking to friends for like a while, and they're like, Joe, I remember we were both on the basketball team, and then you played the Ramones, and I didn't like it, and then we weren't friends anymore, and you stopped coming to practice. I'm like, yeah, done. That's
the deal. Joe, because it's, you know what? It's like, because you find your identity in these things when you're young, and you like, you know, when I saw that, I was like, this guy, he's got tattoos everywhere. He's like, he's wearing makeup, like, but he looks so tough. Like he, you know, and they're like, they got guitars, and like, he's just like cool, and they're in prison. Like, yeah. You know?
Songs.
Yeah, like, songs. Is that a tattoo on his neck? Like, what does his mom think?
Yeah. How's he going to get a job if this doesn't work out?
Yeah. I bet he smokes, you know? Like, just
really. And I bet you his parents know he smokes.
Yeah. I bet he smokes in front of them.
Dude, I'll tell you, man, I mean, diverting for a sec, the first time I saw Social Distortion, I was 16. It was the first punk band I ever saw.
Oh, really?
First band I ever saw. My mom.
California's cool, man.
Oh, dude, my mom made me go live with my dad, and there was a kid. His name was Joel Loya, and he was in a band called Young Alcoholics, and their logo was YA with a martini glass. Loved it. Yeah. And he goes, I meet him, and he says, hey, man, do you want to go see Social Distortion? And I remember, not making this up, I go, I don't know. And he goes, you don't know who they are? And he sings to me, Mommy's Little Monster. He goes, Mommy's Little Monster. He sings Atom Bomb. And like, he sang it to me. And it was so cool, him singing it to me. I'm like, I want to go to that. Like, that's how good the songs were. So we go to the show.
Dude, yeah.
We went to the show, Brian, and that was when it was original lineup. And Mike Ness comes out with the eyeliner, the shorts, the bondage belt, the hat. And dude, I did the same thing you did in your kitchen. I was like, and then I remember as soon as he started playing guitar, I'd never heard a live band. I thought, I plugged my ears, dude. I was like, dude. And my friend goes, what are you doing? And I go, dude, it's too loud. And he's like, you've never been to a show? I go, no. And he goes, dude, don't cover your ears. But it was the same thing. I was just like, what the hell? And then I remember this. I was so blown away that the songs they were playing, they wrote. I was like, what? How's that possible?
Yeah. But that's what set me, like, that was right at the time when I said, that's when I felt that thing. Like, whatever that thing is that makes me, that I still do now with songs. Like, when I saw, right around that time when I saw Social D and those things, that's when the plug, like, went in. And I was like, I'm going to do this. Like, I don't know how long it's going to take, but I'm going to figure it out. You know?
Yeah.
So then I was like, I got prison bound. I was like, I got to get arrested, you know, so I have something to talk about.
Gosh, nightmare. Nightmare as a parent.
It was fine though. It's good.
I got, one thing, when we talk about Mike, you brought up Springsteen. I know you're a huge Pearl Jam fan. As a kid growing up, in New Jersey, and you like you just said, you're in the kitchen, you hear this music, your mom's playing music, you grew up to the sounds of Social Distortion, you grew up to the sounds of Pearl Jam and Springsteen and all of them, and then as a songwriter, you start meeting these people, you start talking to them. I mean, do sometimes you just kind of look back on your life at this point and go, wow, am I Forrest Gump? Like, what? How did this happen?
Yeah.
Like, talk to me, because I know, like, people that are listening right now, there's a kid watching right now, or there's a person that wants to start a band, and you have these visions like, oh my gosh, I love this artist, and then you've shared getting to not only meet the artist, but, you know, work with them or talk about songwriting. Can you kind of just broad stroke what that's like going from just a kid in a kitchen seeing Social Distortion or Springsteen?
Yeah, well, the biggest thing for me, I think truly that has allowed me to sort of meet a lot of the people and work together with a lot of the people that I've wanted to work with is I've always been so open with people about like who I love, like what music I love, because so many people I don't know, they're like very guarded about like, well, I'm not gonna tell you my secrets. Like they'll always like list these influences that are like kind of arbitrary, and you just go, oh yeah, you're influenced by the Clash. Yeah, everybody's influenced by the Clash. Like that's not really, you're not helping me. But when they're like, dude, I got, you know, Sex, Love, and Rock and Roll, that record, and on the song, you know, like Highway 101, when it hits the G chord, I was like, I gotta take that G chord and go somewhere else with it. Like nobody would talk about that, and I feel like I was always really open with, you know, I like this, I like this. I mean, even to the point where in like the 59 sound, like the whole reason that I included all like those nods to all these people is like when I was very young and I would listen to hip hop, they would always be talking about their other bands. Like Tribe Called Quest was talking about Michael Jackson. Like Run DMC was talking about other New York bands. Blondie was talking about Fab Five and Freddy. And like, I was always like, yo, this is like, you did not invent this in a vacuum. So just put it out there. And then because if you do, your people, the people who love the same thing you love, they'll come find you. They'll come, you know, and that's the thing.
Wow. So hearing you say that, it's really all about don't be embarrassed, or I don't want to say ashamed, but don't be afraid to tell people what you love.
Yeah. And don't be afraid of like saying like, I'm, you know, like when you were a kid and you were like, I'm into Social D. I like the Ramones, you know, and that was your like stake in the ground. Yeah. Like you were just like, I don't like this. I like this. And you can still say like, I don't know, like you're into that kind of thing and that's awesome and whatever, but I'm into this. This is my lane. And I love this lane. So, you know, and I think it unifies people rather than divides, because like, I've never seen, if somebody else is into something different, I kind of try and see like, well, what is it you like about that? And like, I'm curious, but when you find people that are into the same thing you are, you're automatic friends if you let them in.
Yeah. Well, you know, it's funny because, you know, when the 59 sound came out, I remember you said to me, hey, I know you're friends with Jesse Malin. And I was like, yeah. And I remember, you know, I hope you don't mind me sharing this, but it's going to back up what you just said. Yeah. You said to me, I remember you called me and you said, Joe, can you do me a favor? I said, what's up? And you said, you know, now that the record's done, I know you're friends with Jesse Malin. And I said, yeah, he's my buddy. He goes, oh, you know, I love him. And then you go, I know he's friends with Bruce. Do you think you could get him my record to give to Bruce? And I remember I go, you know what, man, I'll reach out to Jesse right away and I'll, you know, we'll see what happens. And I remember, I'll never forget this. And I gave the record, I called Jesse, and, you know, Jesse was always such a huge, he was always the East Coast, like, supporter of Side One Dummy from day one, from helping us with Flogging Molly to, you know, helping us, you know, when we worked with Gogo Bordello. And then I remember I asked him, hey man, we got this Brian Fallon and Gaslight Anthem. He's a great kid. You're going to love him. And I remember I was like, you know, he was wondering if you could give the record to Bruce. Now he hadn't heard it yet. Yeah. So he's kind of like, you know what, man, I don't know. I'll never forget, man. He had one attitude, not a bad attitude, but just a real attitude. Yeah. Before I sent him the record. And then I remember he got it. And about 3 days later, he called me back and he said, I'll get this to Bruce, man. He goes, I gotta be honest. And then I remember you and him became friends. Yeah, we became like fast friends. Like I was standing outside of Newbury Comics in Boston when he called me the first time. I'll never forget it. And I was standing on the on the street outside, and I was talking to him. I'm like, I can't believe this voice is coming through the phone. Like, this is so weird, because I had grown up. I found out about Jesse's band, Degeneration, from like literally, I had never heard the band. There was an article in Rolling Stone, like
this is a new band. And it was Jesse, like dreadlocks, shirt off, leather pants on the stage.
Always shirt off.
Like,
always
and just
shirt
like,
off.
I think he was like chewing on a mic cord or had it wrapped around his neck or something like insane. And he looked insane. And I was like, I'm buying this record. And I went out and bought it sight unseen. I'd never heard of them. And it became one of my favorite bands.
Oh, yeah. That first record, No Lunch. Oh, my God.
No, before that. This was the self-titled.
Oh, you mean the Degenerate?
Yeah.
It's like a, wait.
It's got a TV on the front. It's like an exploding TV.
There you go. That has the song No Way Out on it.
Yeah. Great song.
That song, you know what? The song, Degeneration song, everyone that's listening right now, anyone that's watching this, thank you. First of all, Brian Fallon, amazing. Thank you for being here. Everyone that's listening to us, I hope you're enjoying this as much as we are. I'm sorry that I'm not reading off all of the questions and stuff because it just gets a little crazy. But I see all the hearts, so I know we're doing something right. Do yourself a favor right now. When we're done with this, go on Spotify and listen to the song by Degeneration, No Way Out. It is one of the most, it's a punk rock song that I remember the first time I heard him, I was like, is this a cover? It's so good.
Yeah. It's great.
It's one of those songs. One thing we'll kind of divert into this right now and with Jesse was, I always think of you and me and the band when you had your 30th birthday party at Jesse's bar.
Yeah.
Remember that? I think I met your mom at that.
Probably.
And that was Gaslight Anthem Mania at that point. Now with this new record, you're 40. You have children. You're a different person than you were at 30. Right now at 40, if you could kind of look back at the Brian Fallon 27-year-old and you could kind of pop in his head for a second, what would you tell him not to worry about or not to stress on? Like as a singer, like what would be some of the things that you would say to him? Hey man, what is it? What are some of the things you would love to drop knowledge on that 27-year-old Brian Fallon?
I would tell him 100%. If the people coming to the shows are happy, just like you have to put blinders to everything else and just focus on the lovers. Like the people who love your music, don't listen and don't read reviews. Don't worry about what anybody's opinion is. Don't listen to anyone's even sometimes well-meant advice. Like just focus on if you're doing something that makes people smile, then you're doing the right thing no matter what anyone else says. Because it would have saved me a lot of worry, or not worry, but like headache. I don't know, kind of anxiety about it.
It's almost like you're saying, in a full circle way, focus on that girl or guy or that kid or that person that's up front that's discovering and loving your music, no different than you and I, you in your kitchen, freaking out to Social Distortion, or me freaking out, covering my ears. Be stoked on those people. That's great advice.
Don't even because there were so many times where I can remember, and thankfully it went, most of the time I didn't get too far off the rails with it, but most of the time I definitely was oh well, should I go this way or this way or this way, because there was so many questions when it could have just been a lot easier to be well, I don't know, the last show, they like that song a lot. Let's just kind of do something like that. And it would just be easier instead of worrying about well, where do you see this going? And, are you going to be the next great rock and roll band? I don't know, but you know what? Tonight I'm going to put on the next great show because that's what I'm going to do today. And that would have been but the thing is that, none of this stuff comes with a manual. It's like kids. You're just thrown into it and you sort of go, oh, I just jumped out of a plane. What's happening? But you have to learn to roll with that and just be it's cool.
That advice is so real and so to the heart. And I love that you just said that. Have you ever seen that movie with Al Pacino? And it came out, it was about it's a movie called Danny Collins.
Yeah.
And it's almost,
Andy Diamond told me to watch that for about a year before I saw it.
Did you ever watch it?
Yeah.
what a great movie, right? The premise, he goes through a career. He has a moment in time. He doesn't really take the advice that he feels in his heart. And he kind of starts making records that he didn't really want to make, and started to become an artist that he's almost kind of not a joke, but he's not proud of really what he's done. And he finds out that when he was in that moment of that crossroads that you're talking about, it's a true story. He had gotten a letter from John Lennon and Yoko that was saying, hey, look, we know what you're going through. If you want to have a moment, let's get on the phone and let's talk. And then the whole movie is wow, what happens if I would have known that now, or known that then? It would have been a different career. Yeah, I love that movie. Guess you told me for a year I had to watch it. Jesse Mount.
Yeah,
he's great with the movies. Hey, before we get out of here, I want to let everyone know. Check it out. I put together a package on Side One Dummy. It's basically all the vinyl that we ever did for Gaslight, some Horrible Crows, and I just said put together a package. And everyone that's listening right now and watching and enjoying this as much as I am, if you hit a follow at Side One Dummy, we're going to pick a winner, and we're going to send you this killer Gaslight package. And then if you already follow Side One, just tag someone and say, hey, you should check out Side One Dummy. You should check out you should check out what they're all about. And then I'll pick 2 different people, and we'll send you this killer package so that when you're in quarantine, you have a bunch of vinyl at your house. It'll be pretty cool because we have a lot of it. Hey, before we get out of here, I want to ask you, as far as quarantine goes, what's keeping your sanity right now? Like, what's keeping you? Are you following a schedule? Are you like at our house? We do dinner and movies. We've never, are you doing anything like that?
Yeah, we do games, or with the kids, and just like throwing like the hacky sack into the whatever. But also just like we'll watch movies a lot, but also like tuning into like shows. Like when people are doing shows online, like Jeff Rosenstock did like a show like the other, like a live stream show, and like just dialing into that, and watching people do things live. It makes you feel like you're not crazy.
Yeah. You know what? One of the things I've done, I don't know about you, but like during the quarantine, I started realizing there was things I missed that I haven't done in a long time. And I started making this list of stuff that this is the best thing about these live streams. My daughter's boyfriend just walked in. Hey, what's up?
Hey, what's up,
what I was going to say was I start making these lists of things that I haven't done in a long time of I know this sounds crazy, but like I was like, I miss camping. Like I haven't done that in ages, and like making a little list of that. Anything that you haven't done in a long time since quarantine started, you kind of took for granted that when we get to get back out that you're going to go do?
Okay, so I have never taken a vacation. And honestly, man, I just said this afternoon. I was like, listen, I don't care what happens. I don't care what goes on. As soon as everything's chill again, we're going on vacation. And that's just the end of it. Like, I've never been.
Yeah.
I've never been on a real vacation. Like, meaning like I've never been on a place where I was part of the equation and said, not like I've been drug places before, but I've never been in one where I was like, I want to go here. Does everybody else? Yes, we agree. Yes. Okay, cool. Let's go here and let's not do any work for a week.
Yeah.
It's never happened.
You're saying that you want to go somewhere, and it's not because Dad has a show. It's not because we're going to start a tour in a week.
Right.
Yeah.
It's not because tour starts here, so let's go there a week early.
Yeah. What you're saying is someone runs into Brian Fallon with sunscreen and shorts on and goes, is that really Brian Fallon right now?
Yeah. And I'll have a NA pina colada, and I'll pour it over my head. It'll be great.
Yeah. Dude, I saw Brian Fallon just pouring non-alcoholic drinks over his head in the pool. He's out of control.
I think somebody licked his face. It was cool. He didn't mind.
Didn't care.
Nah.
Hey, thank you for everything, Brian. It's always been so great working with you. I got to say this. Thank you, too, you were the first friend that, and that supported me with my stand-up. I mean, I opened up for you when you first did your first acoustic show
Oh
in
yeah.
LA at the
Yeah.
Troubadour.
Yeah.
Whenever I came to New York, you always came to see me, do stand-up. When Gaslight did the 10-year anniversary, I always tripped out that you picked me to open. And
We loved it.
I'm sure your fans tripped out as much. Like, why is he up there?
No, they're cool.
Uh,
They can hang. They're all right.
no, you've been so supportive of it, and it's been so fun working together. For as many years as we have. And I gotta say, this record, it sounds silly, but I can say it because I'm older than you. I'm proud of you.
Thank you.
I love where you're going, and I love that you're still pushing it wider and wider. And I can't wait to hear what you continue to write. And I can't wait to see you again when this is behind us. And we'll get through it.
Thank you. Thank you too. You've done everything. You've done everything. I don't think I'd be here if it wasn't for you. You and Bill.
We've had one hell of a party, man.
We have.
We have.
And you know what? We've always stayed. We never had a lot of like long-term relationships. There's always like a weird divot. We never had that divot. We've always been cool. Like we've never run into bad blood.
I mean, one of the things I'll share, just for the people, is that one of the things that I always loved about Gaslight, and one of the things I've been so fortunate with the bands on Side One Dummy, is Bill and I have been so blessed. We never ever had to work with like any jerks. Like every band you're talking about, Chris Farron, Jeff Rosenstock. I mean, these people are amazing artists, but they're good people. And I mean, the higher power, man, has blessed me because the people that we've dealt with, just good people, and we never had to deal with any weirdness. And so many of the bands, Bill and I joke about it all the time. I still can't believe we started this thing 25 years ago, and we're still doing it.
That's awesome.
Hey, by the way, I got to turn you on to some Plasma Canvas. Have you listened to that
yet? All right. No, send it to me.
You're going to like it.
All right.
Yeah, you like the heavy. It gets heavy.
Okay, I do.
Yeah. All right, buddy. Have a great rest of your night. I love you, bro.
All right, love you too.
Thank you so much, bud.
Anytime.
Hey, and thanks everyone for listening. We had a blast. We'll do this again.
Bye-bye.
Late.